Hi Americans and others, welcome to It's 420 Somewhere. It's Friday. We're going to talk about Mississippi marijuana, and then we're going to talk about psychedelic stuff. In particular, we're going to talk about doing psychedelics within the Metaverse, which is a weird sentence that didn't really make any sense a couple years ago. So yeah, first up, we have the ongoing problem happening in Mississippi when it comes to medical marijuana. They have been going through the ringer, basically trying to get this to happen. In 2020, voters voted to legalize medical marijuana in the state. However, the Supreme Court shot that down, and it's been kind of in this limbo area ever since. And now, since Mississippi is in this area where it has to appease the voters, because clearly they want this to happen, they're not going to let it just die off, and because that's going to be a bad look for all the politicians. So they have this bill that they introduced a while back that would do essentially exactly what the voters want, and it would legalize medical marijuana in the state. However, the governor is threatening to veto this bill because he believes that the limits, the possession limits, or the amount that you can buy per day, which is 3.5 grams, is too much. And he is saying that he's going to veto the bill because of that if it goes to his desk. However, the House are kind of trying to call him on their bluff. And they passed the bill, which is worth noting, they passed the bill at a pretty large margin, 47 yeses to 5 nays, yays to nays. That, at the very least, is sending a message to the governor saying, we all think that this should happen, go ahead, veto it. It's gonna be a bad look for you. So it'll be interesting to see if this does pass the Senate afterwards. Sorry, it's actually going to the House. It passed the Senate, now it has to go to the House. But it'll be interesting to see if it passes the House and it goes to the desk of the governor, what he'll do with it, if he'll actually veto it, which will be a bad look. So that's that in legalization of marijuana news. Let's go to psychedelics, where we have one story from Virginia. There are 2 bills introduced that would essentially decriminalize drugs. One would decriminalize a large gamut of drugs. One is specifically targeting psilocybin. Instead of it being a class 5 felony, which is insane to think about, if you possess these drugs, it would just be like a $100 fine. It's going to come up with a lot of resistance because the House now in Virginia is GOP run, and the new governor, Glenn Youngkin, has been very reluctant to support any kind of marijuana reform, which is this process that's been happening in their state. So that usually kind of translates pretty well to having a similar belief in psychedelic things. So we'll see if this gets anywhere, but this is yet another state that is trying to decriminalize drugs, and that's a good thing, and we'll see more and more pop up. And Virginia is not known to be a very progressive state, so the fact that 2 bills are being introduced in that state is good news overall. Then we have a story that I find really fascinating and I can't really wrap my head around, and I guess there's a pun there too. It is a story about a psychedelic company that is merging with another psychedelic company, and those 2 companies, their new name is going to be Psly.com. I don't even know if there's a way to pronounce that, but that's what it's going to be. And they bought a large plot of land in a metaverse called the Sandbox. It's a 12 by 12 square plot of land, and they bought it for $2.2 million. Just that small little piece of land, or I guess the Sandbox itself is a very popular metaverse, so like any piece of land in this metaverse is going to go for a large quantity of money, but they bought this, and the more interesting part of it is like, what are they going to do with this little plot of land? And one of the things that they said they may potentially do, I'll just read the quote, I guess, from the press release. While the exact plans for the Psly.com sandbox space are still in development, expect wondrous VR experiences of Hawaii, positive psychedelic trips, healing modalities, and much more. So with that in mind, it makes you think that they're going to have some psychedelic experiences, some psychedelic therapy happening within their plot of land, which the idea to me of tripping on mushrooms while having VR goggles on your head seems absolutely insane, and I would never want to do that. And it's a very easy way to lend yourself into a bad trip. At least I would think. But you know, maybe that's just me, and maybe some people have had good experiences with that. Anyway, it's a really, really fascinating thing, and it does make sense because the idea of having a psychedelic company right now is a very progressive idea, so then trying to mold that into metaverse things is also extremely progressive, so they go hand in hand, but it's just like, man, tripping in a virtual world seems insane. I think the whole allure for me is that you get more in touch with the actual world. So when you're completely disconnected from it in that way, maybe you go more inward. I don't know. I'm second thinking it in real time right now, so it's hard to say. I'd love to hear what you guys think of this idea. Yeah, and that's all the stories today. It's Friday, so some new music came out. We have a new mixtape by FKA Twigs, which is really nice. It's not as hard-hitting as her past stuff, but it's a really, really pleasant play, and it's gonna be awesome to listen to tonight, I think. Then we have a new album by Bonobo. He's kind of this electronic, down-tempo electronica artist, and he works with a lot of singers on this new album. It's really, really fun to listen to. I would recommend those two, I'd say. I haven't listened to the new Earl Sweatshirt album, but I look forward to. So those are the big releases, and that's it for this week. We'll be back next week with more stories, so see you then.